Perfect. We're on. Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Anne. I am a student, an entertainment business student at LA Film School. I also run the social media of LA Film School, and I am very, very, very happy to be with everyone here. Thank you to all our amazing panelists. Thank you to Better Youth for this amazing event. And I must say that I love what you guys are doing. I think it's really important to empower youth and people that need these opportunities through art. So hello everyone that is joining. Very nice seeing you all. How are you? How's everyone? I want to know. Type in the chat, or you can just tell us how's your day. How's everyone doing? We're happy that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I am going to introduce Better Youth. Which I honestly love everything that they're doing. Better Youth is an organization that validates young people by developing life skills through mentoring and media arts training. They do focus in foster and help, foster kids that need help. So it's very important to support that community. And I also want to give a shout out to LA Film to making this possible, and all of the organizations that are working with them. Their focus is hands-on mentorship with these awesome organizations. And yeah, I think we have everyone in, so I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our speakers. Perfect. So our first panelist will be Daja Smith. So let's welcome her.
Hi, everyone.
So Daja Smith is a 2022 Better Youth Program graduate who now works in motion picture, film, and television. And she's currently enrolled in professional training as a grip from West Los Angeles College. She uses social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram to network with many people involved in filmmaking process. And like many of you, Daja experiments with social media platforms to help brand and advocate for herself in order to connect with potential employers. So there's definitely a lot that we have to learn from her. So welcome and thanks for being here, Daja.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So next we have Katie. Hi, Katie. So, Katie has over 12 years of experience working on entertainment, and she's vice president of marketing at SkyDance Media. She oversees and executes marketing campaigns for a diverse portfolio of feature films, award winning television series, and interactive games. And together with Skydance distribution partners, Katie has collaborated on campaigns for titles like Top Gun, Marbury, which we all saw for sure, and I'll still seeing, I bet. Mission Impossible, Reacher Foundation, Grace and Frankie, which I'm obsessed. Literally, my mom and I watch it over and over, and many more shows. And prior to joining Skydance Media, Katie has successfully led and executed award-winning campaigns, both agency and studio side for clients that include Netflix, Paramount, Amazon Studios, Apple TV, Lee Daniels Entertainment, Ubisoft, Warner Bros., Disney, DreamWorks Animation, ABC Television, 20th Century Fox, Nike, and more. And more. Okay, did you guys got that portfolio? Because that's impressive. And she serves as mentor at Better Youth. So, Katie, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And lastly, we have Naomi. Hello, Naomi. Thanks for being here too. And Naomi Manning is a marketing professional with expertise in the film and media industry. And she has designed and implemented marketing campaigns for major titles in theaters and streaming platforms, working with cross-functional teams to deliver within budgets and deadlines, which I feel like it's one of the hardest challenges to do in this industry. So her hands-on approach, attention to detail, and creative problem-solving skills have led to successful activations for Warner Bros. Discovery. And she currently works with films, TV, and originals, and she's a marketing manager. In addition to her experience at Warner Bros., Naomi has held leadership positions at Omnicom Media Group and Mediacom, where she built and managed integrated multimedia campaigns for some of the network's most successful original programming and titles. She holds an MBA with an emphasis in marketing and management from Webster University and a bachelor's degree in communication and rhetorical studies and public communications from Syracuse University. Naomi is also a recipient on the Save the Children Award and an active member of Warner Brothers WOW VE and Impact groups, as well as mentor and a volunteer for various youth-oriented organizations, including, of course, Better Youth. So, yes, welcome, and
Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
Yes, of course. Very nice being with everyone here. And before we jump in, I want to do a positive vibe check. And, we just want to share something positive that has happened in our lives recently. So I can start and then I'll just give the platform for someone else. Honestly, I have a lot going on and I'm really happy about it. I got an internship with a talent agency called Next Step Talent that I'll be starting in June. I went to Coachella and I visited Insomniac headquarters this week too. And I'm doing this. So I'm like, okay, things are happening. And I'm really honored to be with everyone here. So yeah, if someone else wants to share, we're all ears. Maybe Daja? It looks like you have some positive vibes to share with us.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Deja, and one thing that I'm grateful for that's happened this week for me is I have been able to volunteer at the studio for Kids in the Spotlight. So they also help with foster youth, and they bring people into this entertainment business. So I've been able to see their new studio in Van Nuys, and I was able to help do some grip stuff and set up some set walls for them. So that it was really cool for me to be able to see the youth, and we're all coming together to make a film come together. So that's my good news for this week.
Wow, I love that. Yes, yeah, is anyone else having good news around here?
Sure, I'll go next. Here at SkyDance, we had a film premiere on Friday with Chris Evans and Ana de Armas called Ghosted on Apple TV Plus. And so this week we've been working to announce that we were the #1 film of all time on the platform. So that is really exciting. And then personally, I am 8 months pregnant and had to go to the doctor this week, and everything's looking great. So we are professionally great and personally wonderful.
I love that. Congratulations. Do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
The gender right now is a girl, the sex, but until she tells me otherwise. So yeah, it's a girl.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. Naomi, what about you? You've got good vibes coming out of your
congratulations, Katie. That's so exciting. And then, similarly, at Warner Brothers, we debuted the Flash movie at CinemaCon earlier this week, and the reviews are phenomenal coming from the press and critics. So we're really excited that one's going to be a huge film for us. And on a personal note, I just moved to an area where I really wanted to live for a long time since moving out to LA. So I'm really excited to be where I wanted to move or live.
Wow, yes, definitely a milestone, those living arrangements. So yeah, I'm happy for everyone here. It looks like we're all getting our stuff done, women in business for sure. So yes, perfect. We're going to jump to for some questions. I want to hear from you. How do you think social media is changing the world? So yes, whoever wants to answer. I know you want me to name someone.
I'll jump in. That's such like a what it all means question, right? Just because I think social media, I started working in social over 10 years ago when Facebook, you still needed a university email in order to join. I actually think my login is still my university email when I graduated in 2009. But it's changing so much and so rapidly. How it's changing the world is, I think, how people are obtaining information, right? Like, I think I'm 8 months pregnant. I just built my entire baby registry off of TikTok because I have no idea what to do, right? You're getting information, you're seeing things in real time. And I think that is extremely powerful, especially given today's issues that are happening around the world, not just here domestically in the US. So I think that access to information on a global scale is really interesting. I think also the way that AI is really coming up right now and having sort of this, I was going to say resurgence, but it's not, it is a surgence. Is really, really interesting, and to see how that is impacting social as well. I mean, you saw it sort of briefly with the Snapchat filters and things like that, but now we're seeing images altered. We're seeing songs being created by artists who have never sang this song before. So it'll be really interesting to see how those two worlds merge as well. But would love to hear what Deja thinks on social.
Yeah, I think the social media is the biggest component for the businesses today. Even like you said, like being able to touch on the biggest problems that we're having today. I think social media has been an outlet for a lot of people to be able to spread their message across in so many different platforms. Even with like the AI, like I'm guilty. I actually was using AI earlier to help me respond to a text message that I didn't know how to respond to. So I think the social media aspect has really been helping us really expand on what technology was before then and what it is now, what it's grown to, especially in the film business. I think that it's been very helpful with us being able to even brand ourselves as we're speaking of today. So
Definitely, definitely. I feel like, based on everything that you ladies are saying, well, first of all, I use ChatGPT for everything at this point in my life. I'm like contracts, and my boss doesn't care. He's like, look, if you do this faster, it's better. I can use it for other things. And, based on what Katie was saying about information for me, when we compare like technology and social media to like TV on radio, I feel like it's so different because when those came out, it was still concentrated in the same people that run it, that had money, that had access to all these resources, and that control information really. So you knew what the news told you and what your neighbor told you. But with TikTok and Instagram and how personal it's becoming, I feel like for the first time in history, the power is actually in the people. Like it's the first time that we have the power. We know what we like, what we don't like, what we think, what we don't think. So I definitely think is, a huge milestone for humanity, really. So Naomi, I don't know if you have something to add.
Basically piggybacking off of what you were saying, and I totally agree. Like it's given more voice to people who normally didn't have a voice. It's given opportunity to, fans and consumers and everyone on social to kind of have more power to, control narratives and change, approaches. I'm going to date myself a little bit before Katie. And I remember when, everything was print media, meaning like, it was the physical newspaper or, print ads. And now everything is digital and social. And, I've seen even some of our campaigns at Warner Brothers take off, not because of things we've done, but because we've given power to the fans to drive what they want to see and, see the kind of movies and content that they want to see, and being able to, have that real kind of conversation with your consumer versus just, getting research in kind of the slow old school way has really been fascinating.
Yes, no, I definitely agree. So definitely changing the world. And now we want to know a little bit about all of you. So I would love for you to maybe describe your role a little bit more, like what you're doing today and how you got there, if that's possible. So yeah, Katie, would you like to start?
Sure, happy to. So I'll actually start with how I got to where I am and then talk about a little bit about what I do now. So I actually grew up in Las Vegas. Yes, people do live there. It is complete suburbia outside of the Strip. And I left when I was 18 to go to the University of Nevada in Reno, in Northern Nevada. And then as soon as I graduated, I pretty much moved to LA. I lived on a girlfriend's couch, a futon, for about a month. And then I started contracting over at Warner Brothers, where I knew a little bit about how to, about Illustrator and Photoshop, and got a job as a temp just to get my foot in the door, and started from there to climb the ranks. And when I say climb the ranks, I mean, not really. I was there to work on their loyalty program. So it was sort of similar to like an airline where if you buy a certain amount of DVDs and Blu-rays, which people bought back in the day, you would get points and things for Warner Brothers swag. I started to really see a need for social media in this space and thought, wow, we should really create a Facebook for the loyalty program and really start to branch out. And I started to teach myself social and what that looked like, because it wasn't taught back then in school. It wasn't something that was sort of like, people had experience in. So I really started to teach myself strategy and content and what engagement was and what people liked. I managed 160 pages from there, all home entertainment catalog titles. And then from there, I went agency side. So I was agency side for probably most of my career, I would say. I managed the Orange is the New Black social media account for the first 3 seasons, which taught me a lot, more so around not just that communities can be cultivated and nurtured in social, but that there is sort of a 360 approach to the way that you can market a television show or a film. But that one really was a sort of defining moment for my career, just because it really helped to shape the way. At the time, Netflix only had 3 originals out. And so it was really diving deep and saying like, hey, we need to reevaluate how we're doing social across the board, and really listening to the fans. I remember the hashtag back in the day, when we started on season 1, was every sentence has a story. And then just going in and listening to the fans, and they were hashtagging it OITMB. And so we said, Netflix, you should really start listening to people. And the more that they listened, the more that the fans came, and we grew the account to millions and millions. And then I went consultancy side. I've sort of run the gambit, as you could have heard in my intro, with clients, with Paramount, and I've worked in education reform. I've sort of run the gambit there. And then I decided I wanted to go in-house somewhere. So I started here at SkyDance. I've been here for almost 4 years. I started here as the director of digital media, where I was working on social and the website and sort of things like that. And my role has very much grown. Now I'm the VP of marketing to not just social and digital, which I still very much am a part of and oversee. But I work a lot with our distributors on what our marketing campaigns are and what we can do to help push what our filmmakers are really looking to do, right? Creatively, we're kind of the middlemen between our filmmakers and our distributors, the distributors being Warner Brothers, the Netflix, the Amazons. So I get to really cultivate those relationships with our distributors and to ensure that the integrity of our IP is intact with our filmmakers. So that's kind of what I do. It varies day to day. It's different. It's strange. It's weird. It's entertainment. It's not a regular 9 to 5. I work around the clock, but it's a good gig, and I'm really happy to be here.
Okay, I loved everything that you said. So please clap for Katie.
Thank you.
I feel like what I would have got from, your story is how like you just innovate, like these big companies that have been in the game for so long are really looking for what's next, like they're starting to listen to people. So, it's very important that people like you that have these contacts and these positions give voice to everyone else. So, I think it's an inspiration for everyone that's listening that like the industry is changing and we have things to add to, we have things of value, to pitch in to everyone.
Yeah,
So,
I think you have that motivation to learn more, to find something that you love or find interesting and to tap into it, and then to advocate, to find mentors or advocates within that position that you're at, someone more senior who can sort of either help push that narrative for you, with you, and guide you, I think is really important. That was something that was really crucial early on in my career when I was learning social, is tapping into somebody who had my back in a lot of things. And it's very rare to find that, but to have that hustle to keep it going.
Yeah. And just one more question for you. So you went from I moved to LA to I started working at Warner Brothers. So I feel like for everyone else, we're like, okay, we're missing a few steps there. How you got in the door with them, first of all,
I was a temp. I signed up to be in their temp agency. So a lot of studios will bring in temps to help cover assistant desks or to, whatever it may be. And so I wanted a job so badly in entertainment that, initially I was kind of hesitant. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is only a couple week contract or a month contract. What do I do? But I realized that being a temp, I get my foot in the door and I get to meet people and I get to sort of find out the inner workings of the studio. And so I took a chance. So, it wasn't just being full-time at Warner Brothers right out the gate. It was definitely a leap of faith and finding out who they use as temps and consultants and just sort of going for it.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah. Wait. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Who's next, ladies? Who would like to continue with this question? Staya?
Okay. Sorry. Well, I definitely don't have that many things under my belt as Katie or Naomi, but I'm a student and I think I'll always be a student because I think I'm always learning every single day. But I started off as an intern. I was an intern at Better Youth. I went through their program in film and TV production. I actually used to be a student at Los Angeles Film School, and I ended up transferring over to West Los Angeles College, where I got my training into my craft as a grip. so that I can be able to get into the union for local 80. So that is like where I'm at, but I was an intern for this upcoming company, and my position there, I was a social media coordinator. So I handled their, I wore a lot of hats in that position, but I mainly focused on building their website, trying to figure out who our target audience were, how we wanted that website to look, how our competitors look like, things were going to be different. It was like a lot of things that we had to take into mind about why was this company going to stand out from the rest of them. And I think for that taught me a lot, because as me being a grip, there's a lot of branding ourselves that we have to put ourselves out there, because we also are our own business. So I think this has taught me and given me that confidence to be able to speak up for myself and really know, okay, now that I see that this is what it takes for a business like this, how much energy and time will I put in for myself to put that brand out for me? And what are the things that I need to put out for myself? Who are my competitors? And why would someone want to hire me? So as a student, I can relate on that aspect of you're just graduating and you're getting out there. Okay, what is my social media supposed to look like? And that's where I'm at today. And I'm still learning through this process. So I think it's amazing that I'm able to sit on this panel here with Katie and Naomi, because I am learning a lot as we speak here too. So, but that's my story, and that's how I came here today.
I love it. Thank you. Yeah, I can totally relate. I feel like as a student, you just have to take everything. You have to talk to everyone. You have to ask all the questions. And then you get to randomly be talking to these amazing ladies one day, and it's like everything pays off, So definitely really happy to have you here and connect and see your face after a few emails exchanged. So thank you for being here. And yeah, Naomi, do you have something you want to add to these questions, your story?
Yeah, sure. I originally actually I'm from New York, so I started my career there. And I went to school in New York as well. So I went to Syracuse, as you had mentioned earlier. So stayed right in New York. After graduation, I kind of did something crazy, but I think it just goes with the tone of being in New York, similar to the hustle today. It's a very hustle forward city, and it moves very fast. And so I printed out 40 resumes and literally went to 40 different companies. I researched their addresses and went door to door just handing out my resume. And in my mind, I was like, this is never going to work. But it did. I got phone calls, people reached out to me, and it wasn't right away. It was over a course of maybe 6 months. But Lifetime Networks reached out to me, Fuse Television and the Food Network. And so I was like, okay, this is exciting. I ended up actually working for all three at different periods of time, but started in production solely, but production within the marketing division. And at the time, I didn't realize that production could sit within different divisions within an entertainment company. I thought like, oh, there's just producing shows and that's it. I didn't realize that there was production for those who need to cut promos or marketing materials. And that's basically what I was doing. And that's kind of what shifted me into marketing. Similar to Katie, from there, I went into agencies and kind of found a home in the agencies for a while. I think agencies are phenomenal. They're a great place to really learn the industry, learn a lot about the different touch points throughout the industry, different departments, divisions, because a lot of times agencies are supporting entertainment companies in several different ways. And so after working for the agency for a while, I eventually landed with Warner Brothers agency, and they actually reached out to me to move out to LA and join their team directly. And that's how I landed at Warner Brothers. So yeah, that's basically my story. Currently, I do full life cycle marketing campaigns. So we set the brand and the strategy for our films. Our teams merged. I recently have also taken on TV and original animation as well. But yeah, we set that for our social media team, in addition to publicity, promotions, and several other departments, to give them direction. And so that is pretty much what I do today. Social
Wow.
being a constant conversation as it's constantly changing and evolving, and we try to shift and evolve with the social, how the social is changing and shifting.
Wow, no, I love it. And we will definitely talk a lot about like branding, social media. That's why we're here. And before jumping into that, I want to know how was the change from New York to LA? Because you either love it or hate it. So I want to know your perspective.
I get that question a lot. Full disclosure, it was a change. Took some adjusting, but I eventually did adjust with the help of people like Sid and many other people who helped me kind of find, my home here and comfort here. Organizations like Better Youth. I had been mentoring in New York, so I definitely wanted to keep that going here. But yeah, definitely adjusting. I do like that the weather is mostly always sunny. That helps. I know recently it's been a little chilly and cold, but we're getting warmer now, so I'm looking forward to that. And I think we all know we need the rain. I'm learning that as well. So it's been an adjustment. I've had to slow down. I've had to learn some patience because I think, if this city has taught me nothing else, it's that everything doesn't need to be done, immediately. Sometimes you can take a beat and smell the roses. And so I appreciate Los Angeles for that.
Oh yeah, we're slow. We're a little slow. No, we're like we
But
want to
in a
take.
good way. I think in a good way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, very happy you're here too. I'm very happy to know you too. And now we're gonna jump into a few more like branding questions. So let's start with social media. What advice would you give to, someone like me, like us, like students, people that are starting in how to brand themselves in social media? Let's say we already have IG, we already have TikTok, LinkedIn. What route would we take to really utilize those? Whoever wants into this.
I can go. I think you really have to look at how if someone who didn't know you came to your social media profile and found you on social media, what would your page say about you? And what are you trying to communicate? I think with any sort of opportunity you want to try or any sort of social, you want to try and put yourself the best foot forward. Um, should you post the picture of you chugging a beer with your friends? Maybe, sure, that's fun. But if you were applying for a corporate job and, say for Warner Brothers or SkyDance, and we were to go, what would that say about you? And so I really think you just have to always, at least for me, is take a beat and say before you post anything, and to really look at what are you trying to communicate? What is your goal? And what do you want to come out of this? And I know it seems very silly, right? Because you're like, it's social media, it's Instagram, it's Facebook. But I can tell you, as a manager, I go to those pages and I go look at people who are applying for jobs. I go and I look around to see who is commenting on even the brand pages, who are our fans, and to get a better understanding of who they are as an individual. And so just to really take a beat and what do you want to communicate to the outside world? I think if you have film and creative that you want to share, these are also really great ways that they can be a portfolio for you, right? You can really showcase your work and really engage with other artists across the board. So to also use it as that creative outlet as well is one, inspiring, but two, something that can be really utilized. I know from an entertainment brand perspective, we typically will work with a lot of artists who have a social media following and that create really cool content. Or even, when I was working on Orange is the New Black, when we had those super fans, we were engaging with them and getting them involved in the conversation with what we were doing. So it's really what are you putting out into the world? And so what do you want other people to see? It's not just your friends and family anymore, right? Like it's open. It is something that you put on there. I was just trying to get something taken down from college when I did a contest on YouTube. So it lives in there forever when people can find it. And so just to be mindful again of what are you putting out into the world? What do you want people to see? Whether that is a portfolio of creativity or I am a fun, charming person who is very smart and enjoys X, Y, and Z. Naomi, I would love to hear what you have to think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with what you're saying, Katie. I think, I always recommend, if possible, for people to create multiple accounts. Like if you want to have, kind of more of your personal, fun stuff on social, create a personal private account that, can better where that stuff can live, where it's a little bit more protected. And so that if you do have a public facing account, it's something that, an employer would see and not potentially, be like, oh, I don't know if I want to hire this person. And in a funny story, I used to not actually think that employers looked at social media until some years back. Somebody I know had applied for a job at Warner, and I was already there internally, and a group of people were like, oh, did you look at their social? Like, make sure you check their social out before hiring them. And so they're definitely looking for your social media. There was someone we recently hired who the reason we brought him in was because I confirmed via social that we had a mutual friend and I knew him. So it definitely plays a role. And as for that reason, it's not to say you can't have fun things. People know you're a human being, but I think, it's about being conscious of like, is that, you kicking back like a bunch of shots with your friends versus like, oh, I went to the park over the weekend. So just curating the content to make sure what you're showing to the public is not anything that could potentially be seen as, not responsible. Deja,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think speaking on behalf of a student, I think like what helps like for me, like when it came to branding, like I do agree with like separating your personal social media from your business. Like for me, I'm a grip, so I'm on set and everything. And so for me, it's like I'll do like the behind the scene, like BTS stuff of like me setting up my work, and I'll put that out there on like my Facebook account. And so that I can show potential employers the work that I've done behind the scene. And I think also too, for me, I don't know if this was something that maybe either Katie and Naomi, if you can speak on, or Anne, but I think for me, when I first started off branding myself, even with just social media, I think I struggled with at the beginning was figuring out who I wanted to identify as. And how can I be different from the next person? How can I not be a copycat? And I think that's something that I'm still trying to figure out, because I have so many people that I admire. I can go to their pages and I see what they do and how they're able to advocate for themselves and their business. And I try to take and pull from as many different resources that I can. And I think just making sure that I still stay fresh, that I can bring in my talent as well to brand myself, but also making sure that I be careful with what I post and even what I do say on social media, making sure that I have a good reputation, because that's something that I would like to keep in mind. So anything that I do, I am always thinking about how is this going to make me look in the long run. I think we all know what it looks like when you have celebrities, and there's a lot of people out there that like to dig up dirt. And I don't want to give anybody dirt. I already have enough skeletons in my closet, and I think I like to keep that with me. So I think with social media, there's like a limit to what we should be putting in out there for people to see, and what we should be keeping within ourselves. And I think like as a young student, like living that college life, sometimes we tend to like look over little small things, but it's the small things that can really impact your future and your career.
I think that's really powerful, Deja, in talking about like, who am I right now, right? Like, what is my brand? What am I pulling for? I mean, I'm always for, and I know this sounds very cliche, but be who you are at this very moment, right? Like the actual beauty of social media is, we said it at the beginning, right? It's ever changing, it's ever evolving. So are we as individuals, right? Like who I was last year is not who I am this year. I can go through a whole thing where I'm like, oh crap, I want to delete every photo that I have because this isn't a good representation of who I am anymore, right? Like I don't necessarily do those things. And so I think it's really great practice to see, especially like whether it's people within the industry, what they're doing, take little bits and pieces that you love. But remember, that it's what you love, right? It's what you want to present yourself. And so really showing that authenticity of this is who I am in this moment, in this chapter of my life. And that gets to be okay. And these are the things that I'm proud of. And this is what I'm going to show up for. And this is what I'm going to post. And this is me. This is what I want to show people. And so to remind yourself that, because who you are right now, your brand is just who you are. And that is a great, powerful, beautiful thing. And to accept yourself in that moment is like, holy crap, that's awesome. So just like take bits and pieces, but remember to stay true to who you are. And I think that's truly how you brand yourself and showcasing what you're proud of, especially in your work, whether again, like that's in a portfolio, because social can be a very powerful tool if you want it to be, but you have to show who you are. It's like what those influencers do, right? Like you can put the same filter on the same image, on the image every day. You can do product placement, but like, what are you proud of? What's going to make you feel good about yourself? And that's all you really need to care about at the end of the day, from my perspective.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like going off what you're saying, I experienced that because I love music and I'm like slowly starting to get into the music industry. But I feel like my parents had a little bit of issues with that because, you know, I'm in festivals, I'm in concerts, I'm going to Coachella, like I'm doing all this stuff. And I kind of had to like paint that line of like, what am I going to put out there? Yes, I'm going to Coachella, but instead of posting me like partying, doing this and that, I posted reviews of the artist. I was like, I love their present in stage. I love their outfits. Or this was kind of average. I posted logistics, right? Like, oh, Coachella did great this year in lines, but they did kind of average in security. Like I made it useful, you know. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm gonna go to a festival and like have the time of my life and dress sexy and whatever. I actually was like, you know, this is what I loved about this artist and what I didn't like about this artist. This is what I would change. And I feel like slowly that image is, it's like they know where you're there. And even though you're in places that might look like partying, they know that you're in the music business, you know, or like whatever you're doing. So I agree with what you said of like, it really is about what and how you put things out there. It's not even where you are, what you're doing, it's how, you know? So definitely agree. I think this was very useful. And just going off, you know, like successful branding in social media, do you have like a specific campaign or strategy that has been successful to brand something, like a program, a show, a project, or something that you can share with us? Whoever wants to take the lead here too.
Sure. I think recently, if I'm going out of entertainment, some of my counterparts at Paramount put out an amazing campaign for the film Smile. And one of the things that they did, I've never seen it. I really dislike horror movies. I am scared. The last one I saw was like Scream back in 1999, the first one, and I can never see it again. But one of the things that they did that I thought was really interesting was they tried to eventize it. And so it wasn't just something on an Instagram or on a Facebook, but they hired actors to go sit at a ball game and wear Smile across and sort of be super creepy in the audience. And, you know, I think that as we talk about social evolving, it's becoming, you know, more than just organic or paid social. It's really trying to find ways to cut through the noise. And I think that they did a really amazing job doing that. I also cannot lie that I think all of the food chain restaurants are really comical on Twitter, where they just sort of banter back and forth with each other, whether it's McDonald's or Wendy's. I love the sort of rivalry meets camaraderie across the board. And I think Twitter is a really fun platform where people can really engage with each other. And I think it's kind of a lost art sometimes. And so those are my two recent ones. Naomi, what about you? What do you think?
I was over here jogging my brain. I was like, ooh, which one do I go with? Oof. So I think one of our Warner campaigns to me was really interesting. It might not be super familiar with everyone, but we had Justice League that came out. And then I don't know if people are familiar with the story, but Zack Snyder, during the filming of Justice League, unfortunately, his daughter went through some things, and so it caused him to not be able to continue filming. And then all the fans knew like there was this other version of the film, so it started this hashtag on social media like release the Snyder Cut, and it was just trending on Twitter, trending everywhere. Anytime we posted something for DC, the fans were like, release the Snyder Cut. And initially as a studio, we were like, ooh, what do we do? Like, you know, this is getting in the way of us advertising other films. But we decided to actually lean into it and show the fans that we were listening to them and release the Snyder Cut. And that's exactly what we did. And so instead of taking the noise in social and trying to fight it, we actually kind of fed and sat into that noise and kind of exploded it further. And so fans, you know, it sold out immediately. We're on like our third version of pushing that title out again because it just keeps selling out. And I think when, you know, you kind of listen to the noise that's on social and respond and try and find your niche in that, you tend to get more traction more quickly. On a more personal level, my cousin is in sports. She has her own kind of like sports channel on Twitter, and you know, she'll randomly have posts that go viral, but I notice the posts that go viral the fastest are the ones where, once again, she's tapping into that existing trending noise, something that people are already engaged with, already talking about, and now she's joining that conversation and making it a much louder conversation, and people are already engaged, so they're excited to be like, yeah, she's talking about this, I want to talk about this too. And so I think, you know, when you can find those places that are kind of like already trending and staying on top of the trends, it's a great way to kind of bolster a social campaign and break the noise.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of just unique examples like that. And I do remember Smile, like that campaign went viral, and just like listening to the people, you know, so it's definitely very useful and always thinking outside of the box. You know, I feel like one of the advices that our professors have gave us that just have like stayed with me is look at what everyone is doing and do the opposite. You know, like of course follow trends and see where's the attention, but do something that like stands up. So I have a few more questions here regarding like Instagram and all that stuff, and this is more about like analytics and ways to track data. How do you ladies use that? What are some things that we need to know when looking at metrics, data, all that stuff? Maybe Katie, if you want to start. Yes.
Sure. I feel like I'm just the starter. Yeah. You know, look, I think we live in a digital age, and on social, it's really trying to find ways to optimize content. And as you start to integrate metrics and data into your social media presence, I think it's really important to help identify not just like what are the prime posting times and, you know, that I'm going to get the most content or what it may be, but to really kind of, as you're from a brand perspective, building something, really start to hone in on, you know, who is my audience? What are my goals? What are my objectives? And then really work to create content that supports those. And then as you start to look at those sort of metrics as they're coming in, whether it's again the posting times, but how much engagement am I getting out of this? And then optimizing for that. I think ultimately, again, I've said it before, social is a really great playground, right? Like you can play and play, and there's a lot of forgiveness from fans because they sort of know. So like you can create one piece of content, try it for a month, and then if it's not working, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's find out something else to do. Or, hey, we've got something that's really popping. How can we work to build something off of that? So I think it's a really cool opportunity to help evolve your content and keep it sort of either growing or changing, keep it dynamic, keep it visually interesting. But I always go back to when you're looking at your metrics, when you're looking at things, is to really take a step back and say, understand who your audience is and understand what you're trying to accomplish and what you're trying to say. I'm a big advocate for creating a plan for yourself, whether it's a business plan because you've got something going on, or you know, you're doing it for a title because you just signed on to do something, but to really say, okay, like who am I speaking to? what do I want to accomplish? What are my objectives? What are my goals? What is the content? And then, okay, how can I make this content better and continue to change? And then, because your plan will always continuously change too. Nothing should ever stay stagnant or, stay the same. Don't ever get comfortable and stay in the box. Always reevaluate what you're putting out there. And I think metrics and analytics are a really great place to really start that.
Yeah, definitely. Very useful, very useful to see who's watching you, where, genres, ages. So it's something that I'm learning to use more, not just putting things out there and expecting that it will find the right audience. So thank you, Katie. That was very helpful. And Naomi, maybe you can help us answer this next question. So how can we ensure people read our messages? When you're job hunting, when you're DMing people, when you're like, hey, I'm worth it, like give me a shot, because we know, like, for us students, or people that are just starting, we know that they're not going to open the DM. You have really just like the few 4 words that you send first for them to open your DM, So you don't want to be rude, but also if you say, hi, hello, my name is, that's it. So would you recommend us to approach, these big companies through social media?
So a recommendation I always suggest is to know your audience, right? Know the person you want to reach out to, know more about them, because at the end of the day, you do need their help. And so I think, something I even get a lot, because I do have a lot of students that even reach out to me now, is the first thing they say, to your point, Anne, is, hi, my name is, and it becomes very generic. The ones that catch my eye are the ones where it's like, I noticed that it's your work anniversary, or, if it's on LinkedIn, or, oh, I see you at Warner Brothers. I love the Flash movie, something that immediately is attention grabbing, but something that'll interest me right out the gate. And then they can go into, because now they've hooked me in, now they can go into, by the way, I'm a student at this, my name is this. If it's on LinkedIn, I already can see you're a student in the profile. So you don't even have to say that. I already can see right there that you're a student. So those are the moments where you can start off by, showing that you're actually getting to know this person. And this even goes back to old school days before social. It's still the same tactic that works. You're also showing that person you really want to work where they're working, that you have a love for this company, have a love for this product, have a love for, whatever they're interested in. And that's why you want to talk to them. You can think of it as if you meet somebody, say in a store, you may not necessarily turn to them and say like, hi, my name is, but if they're picking up the same shampoo as you, you might be like, oh my God, I love that shampoo. And then all of a sudden you're in a conversation with them and they're like, oh yeah, girl, this makes my hair smell so good. And all of a sudden you become friends with someone in a very organic way that doesn't feel unnatural. So I always say, think of the organic ways you approach somebody. It's not, typically, hey, Ann, my name is Naomi, as much as, hey, Ann, that dress, girl, you're wearing it. You know what I mean? And now I've engaged you, I've hooked you in a different way. So I think it's about being unique and being different and trying different approaches versus the standard, hi, my name is, Ann.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think what you said about, it has to interest you. And I feel like we make the mistake of talking about ourselves. And it's like, girl, doesn't matter who you are at this moment, it matters who you're talking to, really. So definitely great advice that, we all need to apply, and that it will be very helpful for everyone here. So I hope everyone's taking notes. And one last question, and I think that I would like everyone to answer this one, because I think that everyone can relate to this situation, and it's about the imposter syndrome. Have you experienced it? Have you dealt with it? How did you overcome it? So yeah, I wanna hear from you, ladies. Daja, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I do have my experiences with the imposter syndrome. I think literally I just was dealing with it yesterday. I think it's something that I am still continuously working on. I don't think that I'm the only one that experiences this. I think there's some people that do experience it and don't even know what it is. I think some really good advice that I got yesterday was it's what we tell ourselves. And I think if I sit here and I tell myself this is going to be hard, or we have the writer strike that's coming up, and if I sit here and I say, oh, work is going to be slow, my brain is going to train and make it harder on myself to think, okay, work is going to be slow. But if I stand there and I give myself those words of affirmation and I am confident and I know that I will find work, then okay, we practice what we preach. And I do believe that the universe and Mother Nature is working with us to be able to give us the things that we do want. And I think that is something that I'm still dealing with every single day, even as a student, as an individual person, as a woman being here. It's not to succumb to these norms, and not to let other people's experiences, whether they were bad or good, dictate my future experiences. Just because someone else maybe didn't have a good experience with finding work or something, doesn't mean that I'm going to have to go through that. And I think that sometimes that we can have a problem where we're comparing ourselves to people, we're trying to play catch up to something, and we kind of just forget where we came from. But I think it's good not to let the past hold us back from doing what we need to do, and just being confident within ourselves to achieve the goals that we aspire to go after.
Definitely very, very helpful. And like you said, comparing yourself with others, it's never, we're not the same person, and everyone has their own stories. And I feel like one of the things that I've learned the most is to just not think that at a certain age I need to accomplish this. I feel like that's the biggest, the time. Like, oh, I'm 24, damn, I'm 25, I'm 30. Like, we all go through different stages. So definitely thank you, Daja, for that, because we all need to be reminded. So yes, what about you, Katie?
Oh my gosh, if I could tell you the amount of times I experience this on a daily basis, sometimes it's I think when I first started out my career, I always thought, man, those senior level executives, they know exactly who they are. They're confident, they know everything. And I can tell you, as a senior level executive, I still know nothing, and really have sometimes a hard time really trusting myself and my decisions and what's going on. I think at least for me, I continuously think of myself as this, 18-year-old who's still trying to figure it out. But ultimately, I'm not. But and I've learned a lot. And so I think really kind of what Deja was saying is really giving myself affirmations and reminding myself the experience I have, and that at the end of the day, everyone is experiencing imposter syndrome. And sometimes it's just sort of like fake it till you make it type of deal, or, pulling stuff and hoping that it lands. It brings me a lot of solace because, if I feel like I'm not alone in it, that if we're all in it together, then like, yeah, okay, I can do this. And the more I accept that, and the more I step into my own power, the more powerful I start to feel in whatever role. And also just being honest with it, right? Like, I can be honest and say, I have no idea the answer to this. Can you please help me? Or I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. So please, like, I tell people to tell me kick rocks all the time, like, tell me to kick rocks. What am I doing wrong here? And that being honest with others and being honest about what you don't know, I think is also a very powerful tool in helping combating imposter syndrome as you start to grow in your career and grow as a person. What about you, Naomi?
No, I was going to say that honesty was definitely what I was going to pull out. Oh man, I feel like sometimes I'm the queen of imposter syndrome, but I think, that honesty is key. I find the more honest I kind of am, and, the more I share out and just tell people exactly how I'm feeling, the more you get that feedback that kind of reminds you that you're not alone, that we're all kind of going through this, and that we're all phenomenal. Like, I think, you go through different stages and steps in life, and it's always changing. Like Deja made a great point. You're always learning. You're always growing. We're all in that boat, no matter how old or young you get. My mom owns a business. She's, up in age, we all talk about our moms like they're old ladies, and, arguably speaking, she's a little bit of old lady, but even her, running a business, she still has imposter syndrome. I'm sure at when she hits 80 and 90, she's still going to have it. And so at the end of the day, it's just really about understanding that, we're all human, we're all in this together, and kind of having that open, honest conversation and being there for one another, and kind of remembering that, I think, helps really to break down the imposter syndrome feelings a lot.
Yes, definitely. I love that, just being honest and trying to learn and ask questions. And I think that for me, I felt it for sure a lot, but it really changed when I kind of made pieces with rejection, because I feel like we're taught that rejection is just this horrible situation where like you're not wanted, but in reality, it's just closed doors. Like it was just not meant to be for you. And it doesn't matter that you're bad or they're wrong or you don't have what it takes. I feel like I just know that rejection is just redirection. It just means that it wasn't your time or your place. And once you learn that, it's like you're just going to get a better opportunity somewhere else. And it doesn't mean that you don't have what it takes. It just means that it's not your place, So once I understood that, I feel like it took the pressure off me. Of course, I hold myself accountable. I'm like, okay, you could be doing this better, but at the same time, I'm like, wasn't for me, wasn't for me. Something else will be for me. So I feel like just keeping that in mind, if doors close, then it's not there and something better will come, and just trust God and, well, whoever you believe in, really. So definitely, very, very, preach. Thank you. Definitely very happy to have all of you here. And in terms of getting like the etiquette, like how to dress for an interview, how to look, do you have any advice on that you can give us? And I think after this, we will jump to the questions, Taja, correct? So I don't know if who wants to start for that.
Start. I think with interviews and always just sort of dress for the role and dress for the company. Take a look at their company culture, do your research into who the company is. I'm always a firm believer and advocate for dress up versus dressing down, even if it's, you could go to an interview for an agency and those are usually more casual vibes, or if you go to a studio, those are a little bit more like business casual vibes, but like more on the business, less on the casual. Though I would never, for me, I like, even if I was interviewing for an agency that was more casual, I would always still dress up a little bit just to show that I'm serious about this role. So, whether it's slacks or and a nice button down or a nice shirt, or some sort of nice shoes that you have, just something that really shows someone that I am serious about this position. I'm serious about working for this company. And I take this experience, this one-on-one interaction very seriously. So always, advice is always to dress up rather than dressing down, but do your due diligence in just seeing what is the company and what are they all about.
Definitely. Yeah. Always show respect, even if it's a casual situation. Once you're in, you can go in sneakers if you want, but it's like, show some respect. And just based on that, and maybe Naomi, you can help me answer this. What are some do's and don'ts at an interview when approaching someone? What are do's and don'ts? Don't say this no matter what. And you should say this, please.
I think, do definitely speak about your accomplishments, things that you're proud of that are related to that job, to that position, that would be relevant to that job and position. Don't be shy about celebrating yourself. I think it kind of goes back to the imposter syndrome. Like, this is your opportunity to kind of brand and market yourself. So you want to highlight those strong points, your experience, sometimes even if it's experience that's not totally related, but lets that employer know that you can handle something that's in that job. For a personal note, to be totally honest, in my current role, it required me to know finance, and coming in, I had not done finance prior. But what I did do was finance for my church back in New York at a very low level. And so I tried to pull every experience of finance I could kind of find through my life to say, I know finance, I have my MBA, like this is what I can, apply to this role, even though I haven't necessarily done finance in the past. So definitely also look for those places where you can find relevant experience that may not be the exact experience, but letting the employer know, hey, I can still do this. On the don't side, I would say definitely don't overshare. And when I say that, I had my cousin had an experience once where she applied for an agency, and they kind of tricked her to some level in the interview where they were like, oh yeah, we go out drinking all the time. And she kind of took it a little too far and wanting to relate and was like, yeah, I love to drink every day. And so after they came to me and they were like, I don't know if she's going to really fit the culture. She seems like she really likes to drink. And so I know that wasn't her intention to share in that way, but I think, you don't want to overshare to the point where you kind of put yourself in a position where they're questioning you at the end of the interview. And, I definitely am curious of Katie and Deja's thoughts on this as well. I think it's a question that can go many ways.
I definitely agree with your statement about oversharing. I think sometimes like when my nerves kick in, maybe, I don't know if it stems from just like pleasing people or trying to be that people pleaser where I'm like trying to just fit in and try. See, the thing about me is I'm still trying to figure out how to read the room and how to read people. And I think like Katie had mentioned, make sure that you do your research. And I think once you do that research before even walking into that room to sit down and speak to them, you have an idea of what and who you're speaking to. And I think for me, I have many more interviews to go. And I think too, like with just like having that etiquette, knowing how to communicate, having those soft skills, and even just like making the eye contact to speak to someone, your body language speaks a lot for you as well. And I think just knowing how to play the part, knowing how to speak, knowing how to dress the part, I think that really does come a long way. And also too, like, I think one of the things that I was being taught in school as I'm coming into this entry level field, getting out there, trying to be, crew members for whoever who wants to allow me onto their crew is, I never wanted to over speak on myself, where I would speak a good amount for myself, but never over speak. But when I get on set, I overachieve. And I think that was the biggest thing that they did teach me, is to just to be honest and humble about where I am, and not to forget where I got my training from, and to be able to still speak up for ourselves. Because I think that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed amongst me and my peers, is we think that if we start to speak for ourselves and put ourselves up and to think about all the achievements that we have done, we think that we're not being modest, or we're talking too much about ourselves. But in a sense, you do want to advocate for yourself. You do want to let these people know the hard work that you put into. These are the achievements that you have worked really hard for. And just because maybe I don't have like the biggest title on my resume doesn't mean that my achievements meant nothing. And I think that's something that we have to remind ourselves, even when we are sitting down for an interview. No matter what the job is, we did work hard to even get into that seat to have that interview.
I think it's also really important, in Deja, this really resonated with me, is also being a team player and having that eagerness to learn. I think, I'm a big advocate for, I can always teach somebody, but I can't teach someone to have a positive attitude or to want to be collaborative. Everything is teachable that we do. And so I think going into it, having that eagerness, advocating for yourself, for your current accomplishments, but having that eagerness to also extend beyond what you already know, and be collaborative, be a positive force in whatever team you are, I think is really powerful, and something that I think will go a long way in an interview. If you really say like, I want to be here, I want to show up, I want to do this, let's go, I want to be a part of the team, how can I help? I think it's really important to showcase that. And Deja, I think you did that beautifully.
Definitely. I love it. And thank you all so much for this great advice. It's been really, great work from all of you, and I'm sure everyone is learning a lot. So now I just want to switch to some of the questions that were asked. So Shonda, do you want to take over and ask these questions?
I will. So we have a question from David. And so he wanted to know, so earlier we were talking about how to reach out to people, like through DM, but he wants to know, when do you know is the right time to reach out? So after you've maybe networked and maybe connected with someone, when do you know when is the right time to reach out to that person?
I always think if it all depends on the situation. I think that's a really great question. I think if you meet someone at a networking event one night, the next day, it's always appropriate to follow up and say, it was really great to meet you. I met you at X, and just remind somebody. If you are randomly DMing people or LinkedIn, I always try and say, give someone a couple days before you follow up, because they might not be on that social media platform for a couple days. They could be busy, they could be on vacation, so just giving them a couple days. But anytime, whether it's a follow-up from a meeting, whether, maybe you went and met up with somebody, it's always appropriate to, as soon as you get home, say, it was so great to meet you. Thank you so much. Especially on an interview, you should always follow it up. And same day, thank you so much for your time. I really learned a lot. So I think it just really depends on the situation. But if it's after meeting someone at an event, or, for coffee, whatever it may be, same day or the next day is always really appropriate. If it's random, I would say a couple days, but I don't know, Naomi, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It depends on the situation and how you initially either met the person, or if you haven't met them yet. I agree, if you have met them in person, that immediate follow-up plus adding where you met them is key, because people are unfortunately very busy, and sometimes, they're meeting multiple people in one night or one event. And so, that quick reminder just shows how eager you are. If it's someone on social, I find, gentle reminders don't hurt, maybe weekly. Even in my day-to-day, to be honest, I get so busy sometimes that I'm not intentionally not responding to someone, as much as it just kind of fell to the bottom of the list for the day. And then, I appreciate almost someone kind of reaching out and being like, hey, just bringing this to the top of your inbox, so that, I remember to reach out to them. Similarly for social media, if you're reaching out on, direct message, it doesn't hurt to kind of re-engage maybe weekly, but feeling it out pending on who the person is, what they're doing, things of that nature. And it kind of goes back to doing your research. Like if there's someone who's in, say, production, and they're always on set, like trying to find those times where maybe production is not happening, and reaching out so that they're going to see that message right away, especially if you see they're like live on LinkedIn, or platforms that allow you to know when somebody's live and active. I'm trying to think of some other examples, but yeah, I think though that's kind of like the best timing to reach out. But to Katie's point, really feeling it out and seeing, pending the relationship, who it is. But Deja, I'm curious if you have any thoughts about that as well.
I agree with both what Naomi and Katie said. For me, like I said, I think one of the key words that you said, Naomi, was it depends. I was trained by my key grip, and he always said it depends on whatever the circumstances, whether you're on set or you're offset. It really does depend on the principle of where it came from. And I think, like for me, from my administrative background, I usually typically I will follow up with someone on a business day. So if I like message them on a Monday, I give them a few days, and then I always follow up on the business day. For me, I think it's just personally my preference. I never really message anyone on the weekends, only because I know that, a lot of people like to enjoy their weekends and their time off with their family. Because most of the people that I know that are on set are usually working Monday through Friday. And they do have that time off on the weekends. But that's just my preference, and because I meet these people in person. Again, like Naomi said, it does depend on who you're talking to and who you're reaching out through social media.
Amazing. Thank you all for this advice. Do we have more questions?
I think that we were only going to take David's question, so we can go ahead and wrap up.
Okay, perfect. Well, ladies, this was definitely a pleasure getting to know you all. Thank you for all your wisdom and your advice. And I just need to say that one of my goals is to have a nonprofit that helps the youth through art. I want to be able to give guitars, to give photography classes too. And I'm from Mexico. I was born and raised there. So the support of art is non-existent, so it really changed my life when I moved here. So when I got that email, I was like, I can't believe, I'm connecting with people that are actually doing what I want to do in my life. So I just really appreciate you doing this type of work for everyone. And, thank you to LA Film School. Thank you to all of our panelists, and definitely check our social medias. And yeah, I really enjoyed everyone. So yes, thank you so much for coming. And yeah, let's take a quick pic for the socials. So thank you so much, ladies, for being here, and we'll be posting this panel in our social media. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, everyone.